Much for your time today. Walk us through what's currently happening with Indian shipments since the 50% US tariff was announced to come into effect by August 27th. Are the exports rushing with front-loading the goods before we actually hit the deadline?
Yeah, good morning. See, there are two very separate effects which are happening. One on the tanker freights and the other on the container freights. Let me start, since you have asked this question about the container, effects on the tariff increases. If we see how the volumes have grown to US and from US since the start of the year, there doesn't seem to be too much of an impact up till now. While there is a rider that it is too early times to tell the full impact, but up till now, there hasn't been too much of an impact. Yes, there has been some front loading because obviously exporters are trying to push exports before the deadline ends. But for cargo to reach Americas, it takes more than a month. So I don't buy this argument that there is front loading. There is no impact up till now on the exports. Also, if we see the kind of tariff raise that has happened, 50 to 60% of our exports are still insulated from any increase. It's only about 40% of our goods basket which is getting affected. Still, it has not got affected, might get affected. So, too early times, there has been no change in freight rates, and obviously shipping lines also reconfigure their stops, as you say. I mean, after all, a shipping line is a kind of a taxi or a bus stop. They have slots fixed for countries from various ports, and they readjust depending upon the demand supply. There hasn't been too much of a demand supply change up till now. So pretty early to say about the impact. If yes, there is either this tariff is going to continue or there is a further increase as has been threatened, then obviously there is going to be impact. There is no doubt about it. But what scale, what products, it's difficult to say. Also, concurrently, if you see, some of the retailers have indicated, at least that's what the press reports say, that their sourcing from India is going to come down, and rightly so. But this is just an intent. Still, we do not know the full effects. The other, which you have not mentioned, but let me upfront, answer, is about the tanker freights. That is an area which is slightly more dangerous for India, because if you suddenly shift oil supplies, then tanker availability is a key issue. And but the good point there is that while Russian basic costs were low, the freight costs were high because they were charging more for freight. Overall, I don't think so. We were getting oil at a discount of more than 15%. There's no doubt about it. Now, so that is a margin there. Easily, by shifting our supply sources, we can easily adjust. And there are a lot of ways of adjusting, these kind of minor shocks. So we are still into a situation of very minor adjustments which require to be done, both for our manufactured goods and for the oil imports. I don't see too much of a major impact till now.
Sure. Okay. And so you just highlighted the change in strategy that we've seen when it comes to freight cost prices. But could you help us understand which export sectors might bear the brunt of the tariff in a big way? And conversely, which ones you think might be stepping away or shifting their strategy in your view?
See, very clearly, pharma, electronics, these are the goods on which there hasn't been a freight increase. And therefore, these are the goods where we will not see any change in strategy by the exporters. The labor-intensive sectors, textiles is certainly going to see there could be a effect there, because we face a lot of competition from South Asian countries, whether it's Bangladesh, whether it is Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan, even China to that extent. So textile, I find, is a sector, and leather. These two sectors will face a lot of competition. Gems and jewelry is less of a bother because of the reason that India has a huge advantage. There aren't so many, polishers, diamond polishers, or gold, I would say, processors outside India. India has got a huge advantage there. So sectors like leather, sectors like textile certainly are going to see the pressure. But let us hope that in the next 1 month, things will cool down as, talks between Russia, America progress, talks between India and US also progress. While there are some news that the US trade team is going to visit India from 20th.
Yes.
There are also some unconfirmed news, and obviously one shouldn't say so, that whether that dates have been confirmed or not is still not clear. But if the trade team comes on 20th, 20 to 25th, then I think so we are still within that 21-day buffer that exists, and we can only hope that some progress takes place in the trade talks.
Absolutely. But should the full 50% tariff, Mr. Krishna, kick in on August 27th? What's the outlook then? I'm just building up the worst case scenario. Could we see broader declines in shipment volumes? And what could it really mean for shipping logistics and carrier finances?
Yeah, I don't see too much of a dip there. As I again say, 50% are, as it is, shock proof. Only if there is a, if USA decides to reconfigure the tariffs, and starts imposing tariffs on pharma, on electronics, then I think so on engineering goods, on chemicals. Those are the big sectors that still are not that much impacted, and there isn't a competition. So even if this 50% continues, the impacted commodities are not so huge in the basket that the impact on the shipping business is going to be very much. No, I don't think so. Marginal impact may be there, 5 to 10%. I don't see more than that. Shipping lines will also configure their, routes. After all, see, the routes for America are usually through, Cape, and lines have very limited services which operate. They do reconfigure. I mean, they increase the slots from other countries, because it's not that the liner will just go from India to USA state. It passes through a number of ports, and each port has got some bit of a slot. So shipping lines are also, adjusting to these kind of changes. So overall, I don't see major impact. The figure sounds 50% very large, but it's 50% on certain goods. Overall, tariff, if we see, the weighted tariff, if we see, is not increased that much.
Yes.
And its impact on shipping freights, I don't see it's going to be that much.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, but along with that, Mr. Krishna, in some of the other recent developments for the shipping sector overall, the Parliament recently passed two important bills. One was the Merchant Shipping Bill 2025, and along with that, the Carriage of Goods Sea Bill 2025 also being passed. If you could help us understand how they will impact the shipping sector, and what could be the implication on the export side as well?
Yeah, so you mentioned two bills. Let me mention the third bill, which is the Bill of Lading Act, which got passed, I think so, in March. These two bills got passed just a few days back. The impact on shipping per se, the business of shipping, let me just put it, not the shipping, the impact of business of shipping, the Bill of Lading Act will have a very major impact, because what it does was, for centuries together, the Bill of Lading, which is a basic document for the ownership and the shipping line, when it takes goods, it owns the goods. It is now, we are moving to an era of Bill of Lading. Bill of Lading used to be a physical document. We will soon, I'm sure, in the next few months or at least a year, will pass on to a Bill of Lading. That will have a very, very big impact on ease of doing business, on how regulatory approvals are given how payments are made by banks, because earlier the freight forwarders or the custom house agents would go to the bank, deposit physical documents. Now everything will become online. So it will have a very major impact there. As far as the Merchant Shipping Act is concerned, it's a regulatory act. Now, we will ease regulation by this. We will update our regulations to modern time international IMO protocols. We will also, to certain extent, try to have a better Indian shipping sector. Its impact on the business, I don't see very much. Accepting, as I said, some regulatory easing, but not on the business that much. For business, we require to develop our own shipping line. We don't have a shipping line. Our largest shipping line is probably, it cannot be even listed. It's more than 200. Shipping Corporation of India, our largest shipping line is more than 200 ranked in the world. So, no, these acts will not have, it will not on the business of shipping.
Good to hear that, Mr. Krishna, and thank you so much for, giving us all that insight and clarity on how the shipping segment or sector really stands to get impacted, and not much difference. That's the assurance coming in from the former shipping secretary. We'll take a very quick break on that note, come right back. A lot of interesting voices lined up on the other side.